You don't feel exhausted because you do too much. You feel exhausted because something inside you never fully rests. Even in moments of stillness, your mind keeps scanning, thinking, preparing. And part of you wonders if everyone else experiences this same constant inner tension, or if it's just you. Your body feels heavier than it used to. Your thoughts feel slower by the afternoon. Your energy fades faster than it should. Not dramatically, not suddenly, just quietly. And you've probably tried to fix it the obvious way. You told yourself you'd sleep better, eat better, be more disciplined. Sometimes it worked for a few days. Sometimes it didn't work at all. And each failed attempt didn't just affect your body, it affected how you see yourself. You started to believe that maybe change just isn't natural for you. But what if the problem was never effort? What if your body isn't breaking down, but adapting to patterns your mind has been repeating for years? Because your body listens to your mind far more than you realize. And unless you understand that connection, you'll keep trying to fix the surface while the pattern continues underneath. Let me describe a day that might feel uncomfortably familiar. You wake up already tired, not because you didn't sleep, but because your sleep didn't feel restorative. Your first feeling isn't motivation, it's resistance. Before your feet touch the floor, your hand reaches for your phone, not out of curiosity, out of habit. You scroll quietly, as if easing yourself into existence. Time slips. The morning feels rushed before it even begins. Breakfast is functional, coffee to wake up, something quick to fill the gap. You tell yourself you'll do better later. By mid-morning, your focus starts to fade. Your thoughts feel scattered. Your body feels slightly tense for no clear reason. You push through. Lunch comes and goes. It gives you relief, briefly. Then the heaviness returns. The afternoon becomes something to survive, not experience. You're not fully present. You're waiting. When evening arrives, you finally have space, but you're too drained to use it well. So you scroll again, watch, consume. Not because it brings joy, but because it quiets the noise for a moment. At night, when the world slows down, your mind speeds up. You reflect, you judge yourself, you promise tomorrow will be different. And for a moment, that promise feels calming, until tomorrow comes and the pattern repeats. The most dangerous part isn't the fatigue, it's how familiar it's become. You've slowly accepted this state as normal, but deep down, you sense something is off. Not broken, misaligned. Your mind and your body are not separate systems, they're constantly talking to each other. Every thought carries a signal, every habit sends instructions, and over time, those instructions become your baseline. When your mind never truly rests, your body stays slightly alert. Not in panic, just enough tension to never fully recover. Sleep becomes lighter, digestion becomes slower, energy becomes inconsistent. Not because something is wrong with you, but because your nervous system hasn't learned when it's safe to turn off. At night, your brain is meant to reset, to clear emotional residue, to restore balance. But when stress lingers quietly in the background, that process gets interrupted. You wake up technically rested, but not restored. The same happens with food. When you eat while stressed, distracted, or depleted, your body interprets nourishment as urgency. Energy spikes and crashes. Focus follows the same rhythm. Over time, this instability doesn't just affect your body, it affects how you think. Patience shrinks. Decisions feel heavier. Your inner world grows louder. There are patterns beneath all of this. Patterns you didn't choose, but learned. Each time you tried to change and couldn't sustain it, your brain recorded the outcome. Not as failure, but as information. It learned that effort leads to discomfort, that stopping brings relief. So it adapted. Now, when you consider change, your mind responds with resistance.
Not because you're incapable, but because your identity adjusted to predictability, even if that predictability hurts. Comfort doesn't feel good, it feels familiar, and familiar feels safe. Your brain also favors what feels good now over what helps later. This isn't weakness, it's ancient wiring. But in a world full of stimulation, that wiring traps you in short cycles. Relief followed by regret, rest followed by restlessness. Over time, your body adapts. Low energy becomes normal. Tension becomes background noise. Mental fatigue becomes identity. Not because it's who you are, but because it's what you've practiced. Change doesn't begin with force. It begins with understanding. Health isn't discipline, it's alignment. When your nervous system feels safe, healthy choices stop feeling like punishment. Sleep becomes restorative. Food feels grounding. Movement feels natural. Your body already knows how to heal. What it needs is consistency, not intensity. Sleep isn't weakness, it's recalibration. Food isn't control, it's communication. Movement isn't correction, it's regulation. Stress management isn't avoidance, it's permission to stand down. You don't fix everything at once. You begin with one honest signal and let the rest follow. Start small, smaller than you think matters. One consistent bedtime, one daily walk, one meal that truly nourishes. Not to prove discipline, but to rebuild trust with yourself. Your brain learns through repetition, not promises. When you show up in small ways, day after day, your system relaxes. Resistance softens. Not because life becomes easier, but because effort stops feeling dangerous. There will be days you don't follow through. That doesn't erase progress. Patterns change through return, not perfection. Each time you come back, you weaken the old loop and strengthen a new one. And there's another layer to this that most people never stop to notice. Your mind isn't just busy, it's anticipatory, always slightly ahead of the present moment. While your body is here, your mind is already preparing for what's next. That split is exhausting, because the body can only rest in the now, but the mind keeps pulling it forward. So even stillness feels like waiting. Silence feels uneasy, because there's nothing to react to. So your mind fills the space. Thoughts replace noise. Planning replaces rest. Control replaces ease. At some point in your life, this vigilance protected you. It kept you prepared. It kept you safe. But what once protected you now keeps you tense. And tension held too long becomes identity. You describe yourself as tired, but fatigue is not who you are. It's a signal that your system has been in protection mode for too long. You weren't designed to live in constant readiness. Alert sometimes, rested often. That was the balance. Modern life disrupts that rhythm, and a system that never rests can't think clearly. It can only react. This is why clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from feeling safer. You don't silence the mind by commanding it. You silence it by making it unnecessary. When the system feels safe, the mind stops scanning. Not completely, but gently. Thoughts slow. Spaces appear. At first, those spaces feel strange. You may feel the urge to fill them. Stay curious. Nothing bad happens when you don't. And slowly, trust returns. Trust between you and your body. That trust changes everything. Effort feels lighter. Choices feel clearer. Life feels less adversarial. Ambition returns, not as pressure, but as clarity. You move again because energy is available. Rest precedes action, not the other way around. You were never lazy, you were conserving. And now, gently, you're teaching your system that it's allowed to expand again. Not all at once, not dramatically, but honestly. The goal was never to silence your mind. It was to stop living in a state where silence feels dangerous. When safety returns, the noise loses its purpose. And what remains isn't emptiness, it's presence. And presence is where life actually happens. Quietly, gradually, from the inside out.